Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today to take a walk through Foundation with a specific angle for CPAs to get some education on the software, hopefully learn a thing or two that may be new to you, right? Yeah, we'll start off with just a big picture rundown on a few things, who I am, a little bit about what some of the products that we offer, and I'll promise to not make that a sales pitch oriented, but more just for your awareness for things that might, help clients that you have, with their needs as far as some of the focus that they have. So saying that, again, welcome, thanks for joining me. As we walk through the overview today, feel free to type questions in the comment area. If I don't get back to something right away, I promise I will follow up with anybody who needs something. And if anybody has, needs a conversation direct, totally fine. I'll have my contact information as well. All right, so saying that, here's me. Not the greatest picture ever, but yeah, so I'm Garrett. I've been with Foundation a little over 20 years, about 22 years. Currently, I'm a salesperson here, and we title that as a regional sales manager. I did about 10 years of support and implementation. So I've been around here quite a while doing different things. Yeah, so again, as things progress with your use in Foundation, just the same as anybody else here, please reach out anytime for help or questions. Now, big picture, obviously Foundation, we're construction accounting software, right? That's what we've been doing for almost 40 years. So as times progressed, right, a lot of companies are trying to find as much as they can in one system. And over the years, we've evolved, right? Not just additional modules within our core platform, but different product suites that maybe do more than just beef up our current construction accounting product, but project management, right? So we've got a lot of clients that have some more deep PM needs. And so we rolled out a product a couple of years ago to accommodate that called Project HQ. Some of you, or a lot of you may be aware, we have mobile application to, for basic time card entry in the field, production entries, material usage on a mobile apps. So we've got mobile in play that's been rolled out for many, many, many years. Construction payroll services. So we have a full payroll service called Payroll for Construction. That can be a really big benefit to our clients and to your clients potentially that do outsource payroll or want to, but being completely seamless with our system because it's us doing it, right? It's not a third-party payroll service, it's literally us. So think of an ADP or Paychex, but Foundation is paying their taxes, doing their checks, their direct deposits, quarterly returns, W-2s. So that's an all-in-one system solution where we're not having to push and pull data from multiple products. Estimating. Actually, let me just click on the next slide here, which just gives a nice pretty picture of these items, right? So again, Foundation at the top, right? That's our classic umbrella of products below it, right? So again, the payroll service, Payroll for Construction. We've got Project HQ, which I would say is like a light Procore-ish tool, right? So if there's a large contractor, say a large GC that just loves Procore, we have an integration with it. Totally fine, we play well with them. But for a lot of our clients, this product will meet their needs, and it's all in one. It's the same database as our full construction accounting backend. Now the two over here, these are estimating products that are part of our product suite. McCormick, one of the leaders in the estimating market for electrical contractors, and they also work with mechanical contractors. So really nice to have them on board with us. Edge estimating, quite often for roofers, right? A lot of roofing contractors utilize Edge, fireproofing, and we also recently rolled out Safety HQ, right? Toolbox talks, certifications, training guides, safety data sheets, for OSHA help and various items like that. So again, more awareness on the the breadth of the products that we have beyond the core accounting, which is going to be our focus today. All right. So hopefully, like I said, you learn a few things here as we go through the product today. You know, some of you may have more experience than others, of course, right? So I'm going to walk through some basics to start, and we're going to get into some of the good stuff as we proceed. So the very top, that's our core. Let's do a quick lay of the land. You know, that's our core construction accounting modules, right? So, you know, that's the classics. You know, we got a lot of companies that come off QuickBooks, and they need, you know, obviously something better. One, just better accounting, right, from an audit trail and that. But, you know, construction payroll, right, the union payroll, certified payroll, multi-state, multi-rates, locals, AIA billings, you know, and various other construction billing formats. Even things simple like tracking retainage. Obviously, job costing is a huge piece of what we provide. Committed cost management with purchase orders and subcontracts. We do include the CPA audit review module. Nothing too fancy. You know, this is an area where you, for example, or another professional can log in, especially if you're not really in tune with the software, and at least have easy access to a number of items that would typically be helpful when doing an audit or a review. You know, aging reports, cash flow reporting, you know, WIP reporting, job GL tie-outs, you know, gross profit reporting. So you get the idea, 941s. So this is, again, an area that's just part of included in the base system. And, you know, we obviously encourage and want CPAs and professionals to get involved and learn as much as they need. Down in the middle here, these are optional add-on modules that are part of the core, you know, foundation product. So what I mean by that is, you know, we have our mobile app. I'm not accessing that here on the main menu. We have our safety management product. I'm not accessing that on the main menu. Those are separate products that are just connected at the back end. These are within the, you know, standard product suite, but they're add-ons. You know, some of our clients need to manage heavy equipment. Some of our clients have inventory that they need to track. Some of our clients have a service division, right? Maybe it's a mechanical contractor, HVAC, and they got large commercial work, and they also have a service department. So again, these are optional modules, and they're modules our clients can add anytime. If I scroll down a little bit, these are all part of the base system, and we're going to walk through a few of these today. There's our security, right? So you can decide who can get in the system, what they can see and do, screen by screen. There's some very specific options on security. Control files, that's a really key area in the system's back end where we control the defaults and settings for various modules. We're gonna talk about that a little bit. This Genie's area, I always want people to be aware there is a drop and drag, job cost report writer, financial report writer, and a few other tools like custom employee lists and things like that. And it's genuinely simple. For example, if you wanted a custom income statement or something like that, not too scary to get used to or have us do it with you, you know, from a basic support call to a point. So just want to kind of quick lay of the land as far as the modules. Again, the core base system up top, that's the heart of most things here. And notice the module layouts, right? So every module is laid out the same way. You've got daily, you've got maintenance, and you've got reports. Well, daily is your day-to-day. You know, for AP, I'm going there to put in an AP invoice or to write a check. GL, maybe I'm going under daily to do a journal entry, right? Payroll, maybe I'm going there to put in a time card and cut checks for payroll. Maintenance, just maintaining the module, adding a vendor or modifying a vendor or a customer or a job or an employee. And then obviously reports is where we go to run reports within that given module, okay? Left-hand side of the screen, these are what we call quick links. So as a person logs in, you know, they would see, you know, Sarah's quick links, Joe's quick links, whoever it is, and each person can set up as many as they want. So I have one for my favorite reports. I called that key reports, and, you know, pulling over something completely random here, but got a drop and drag menu item. So, you know, even for a professional like you guys watching and participating, you know, you can use the CPA audit review, but you still could utilize something like this where you pull over favorites or just whether it's reports or just, you know, direct links to journal entries and bank reconciliations or whatever else is needed there. To add those, you're simply clicking on the little wrench and you can add a new quick link with whatever title we want, right? So I don't know if I have one for AP, so we'll go ahead and do that. So now I have an AP one, and if I choose it over here, right, now it's blank, I didn't add anything yet. You get the idea. It's like, oh, I'm gonna enter invoices, maybe select those for payment, run a pre-check register to make sure I see what we're gonna run, include on that next check run that I selected in the prior step. And then maybe we're going to print, right? Maybe shortcut, have access to a vendor record as well in that sidebar there. So pretty standard concept. Just wanted to point that out quickly because I'll use that a little bit when we talk about the overview here. So let's talk about control files. This is one key area that we go to early on in an implementation, and often when people need some setting changes. Now, it's definitely a spot that our clients shouldn't have everybody getting access to it, right? If there's 20 users in the system, probably only a couple would have access to the control files, just like security is a very important area to limit people's access to, because these can greatly change the results in the back end of the system. So each module has its own controls, right? So AP, AR, payroll. And here's where, and these are all random, so live with the examples. Here's my standard cash account. If I had a default credit card, I would fill that in. AP, I just plopped in my standard AP account. I got AP retainage. So just the default. So we're not picking those every time when I put in an AP invoice. Control dates. I'm going to talk about that again later on, but really important. That's defined in AP, AR, general ledger, any accounting module, so to speak, where we prevent people from posting outside of that said date range. Now, as you see here, completely random, wide open date range. Well, let's make it more accurate. Maybe we only want people to post within October, right? So whatever that is to each company, right? Maybe that would be not January. What's that? So maybe it's for September and October. Maybe people open it for a quarter. That's up to you, them, right? Our clients. Well, we're saying, hey, if I intentionally or accidentally tried to put an AP or AR or in this case AP invoice in, or try to cut a check outside of October, it's going to say you can't. That's outside of your date range. Contact the system administrator. So you can either say it's a hard stop or a warning. So again, the date parameter is up to you. It doesn't mean it's a hard close, right? If I block off, say we roll into 2023 and we do our year-end close, which we'll talk about. Maybe I closed, blocked off 2022, but then maybe you go, oops, I should have done a journal entry, I forgot. You could reopen the dates, do the journal entry, and block it again. Just wanted to point that out. So yeah, control files are really important, as far as the various settings and what it's going to control in the program. Workers' comp and insurance certificates. Should it stop me from putting in an invoice or a purchase order, or selecting to pay a vendor if a certificate's expired? Maybe it warns them or prevents them. So these are, again, key areas that really dictate the flow of the system. Auto posting. I'm not going to go through every control file. I just try to give you an idea of where some of these key settings are. AP and AR has this auto posting feature. I'm not saying make it QuickBooksy, but the reality is majority of our clients come off QuickBooks, and some people want some similar ease of use, but we don't want to limit or lower the integrity of our product as far as the audit trails and everything like that. So, with our standard settings, when you put an AP invoice in, when you put an AR invoice in, you list and post it. We're going to talk about that. Real basic. This is saying, no, yeah, let me see a report of everything I've entered before I commit it to the system, to GL. This might say, no, just post for me as I enter AR invoices or AP invoices and I close out of the module, just post it. Just do it for me. QuickBooksy, right? So I don't think we recommend it, but hey, if that's something that they really want to have happen and they, put their foot down about it, we're not trying to tell them how they have to run their business. So at any rate, control, really important, again, from the main menu, very bottom under tools, there's controls, right? Right next to it, security. Mentioned that earlier. That's where we're going to define what rights and access a given user has. So let's talk about that a little bit further. So security. Now in our system, our clients have a dedicated number of users. So say if somebody has a 5-user system, it doesn't mean they can't set up 6, 7, 10 users. It's how many you're allowed to log in at the same time. So you can create, in a sense, as many users as you need, right? Create a password, for that user, and basically underneath the company, we decide for that user, what do they have access to? Now there's the first level of access that we define here. Now full access trumps everything. That's like, it doesn't matter what else I select, that person or user can basically do whatever they want. That's why mine's for the admin user of the system. Now me, I don't have full access to everything, right? Now even like say secured employee access, if I said leave this blank, that means if an executive, for example, in payroll is set as a quote secured employee, then I as a user cannot see them, right? So maybe I can get in and do payroll for field people, but the executives or anybody secure, they're transparent to me, they're hidden. Require PM security. If we set up a user that's a project manager, we're going to say, yeah, they require PM security, and we would attach the project manager's name to themselves. So when Sarah the PM logs in, Sarah can only access Sarah's jobs. So there's various key settings here that are just big picture first. Now then I can go into each user in more detail, like I clicked on my name here, and we're saying, what do I have access to? Green means go, red is it doesn't exist to that person. So as I expand down, maybe I should have access to, maybe I want me to get into equipment, right? Whoever the admin is setting up the role. Well, I could click on it and just say enable, right? It's like, oh, cool, now they can get into equipment. But maybe they shouldn't be able to enter meter readings. I'm making up stuff, obviously. We can hide that, right? Or just disable is yellow, hide is best. Why even have it show grayed out? It's like just make it non-existent to that user. So again, we can go very specific to what each person can see and do from a security standpoint. So again, from the main menu of the software, down under tools, that's where we're doing control files that we talked about, security, creating custom fields. I actually wasn't going to pop in there, but let's do that. Say you have I'm thinking of an example. Job records is a real common area for user-defined employees. So let's make one for employee. So if I go to other under system, we can create user-defined. Think of any field you want or your client would want to track that's not already there. It's like, all right, you make it up. So it's alphabetical here. I don't want equipment. Employee. So these are ones that are already there, apparently. On an employee record. These are other custom ones that I made up or somebody else here. So if I said new, mechanic level, something, I don't know, certification level, making up stuff, right? So drop down, do I want to create a drop down list, text field, date, folder that I'm going to link to? Drop down's fun because we determine what's in it, right? So I can say master mechanic, right? Apprentice. Wizard, who knows? So we're putting in all these drop downs that we want there. So now when I go to an employee record from payroll maintenance, employees. Now, if I made a user-defined field on a job, I would find it on the job record. If I made it on a vendor, I'd find it on the vendor. So I think we can do user-defined fields literally anywhere, even on transaction levels. So if I pull up random employee, I'm on an employee record, there's the user-defined field, UDFs. So awesome, I can, attach, I'm a wizard. So I can attach whatever category they fall under and use that on reporting because I have the ability to do custom reports. And wasn't gonna pop over there yet, but why not? So underneath Genies, we've got the data Genie, that's the report writer. There's a form designer. Now you can build, and I'll pop into one of these here in a sec, job cost, financials. Let's do a really easy one, employee list. I want a custom employee list. Every field that's on the employee record is here. Each tab in the employee record is a box. So if I say, all right, I'm gonna pull over the general, what do I want? Do I want the employee number? Sure. Do I want the employee first name? Sure. Last name? Sure. I mean, as I've said, I'm winging stuff here. Do I want their email? I don't know. Right? Date hired, driver's license? Sure. And so every field that's available on the employee record is here, as well as those user-defined fields. So it's like, which one do I want to pull over? Were they drug tested, yes or no? Their mechanic level, I don't know if that even makes sense. So, you know, you pull over what you want. You can format it the way you prefer. You know, make sure the columns are expanded to your needs, give it a name. And once you save it, it's brand new. You can format columns and things. So, you know, obviously the job cost, report writer, and financial one are a little bit more advanced. But now if I go back to employees, and this is something else that's helpful to know, really simple feature in the system, but it's important, it's listing. I'm on employees right now. I went to payroll, maintenance, and employees. I didn't pull up an employee yet. I want to run a list, right? So if I'm in GL under accounts, I'm going to get a chart of accounts. If I'm in vendors, I'm going to get a vendor list. I'm in employees, I'm going to get an employee list. Now, I must have saved a default here, which is another feature I'm going to talk about. So the standard ones are profile and condensed. That's just right out of the gate. You know, here's our preloaded list. That's a really condensed one, obviously, as you see, or profile, which gives all the details, right? Minority, date hired, all of these things. Custom ones, I choose custom, and then I pick the one I need. So we made that one, right? Social security number, do I want to show yes, no, or last 4 digits? Print terminated, yes or no? So there's various things, right? I never saved that mechanical, but you get the idea. And this is another thing I was going to bring up. I can always dump out data to Excel, PDF, Word. Now, I typically recommend CSV, right, instead of Excel. It just comes out the way you see it. The whole, what you see is what you get. This doesn't matter where I save it. So if I hit save, it's going to pop that now saved onto my desktop, pops it open, and yay, there's the report in Excel. So I can use Excel's wonderful capabilities. Now, some of you may know this. Foundation is an open SQL database in the back end. I can technically open a blank Excel workbook and connect to the back end of Foundation and pull data directly live into a spreadsheet. We do classes on that. We've got clients that are really advanced with it. Obviously, we have users here, employees that are very advanced with it, but it's an open SQL database to pull data out and do very fun things with it. One thing I wanted to note when I was running that custom employee report, that list, well, any report that we run, say, let's jump into an AR aging report, just a good example as any. There's a lot of criteria options here, right? So mine does have default saved. And I'm going to show you how to do that really quick, just to make my demos easier. You know what I mean? I just slapped in a date, which was really old. Why, I don't know. And I said run it in summary. You know, maybe I want it, you know, detailed by invoice. Great. Maybe I want to run that by job, then customer, or customer, then job. So you have all these sort options, settings. Maybe I'm doing collection calls and I want to see the contact and the phone number, you know, as we're running the aging report, so I can call them and put some notes, right, on these entries. See the little plus signs? The one has a little sticky pad that's filled in. So that one already had an existing note on that transaction. In fact, you can elect to include notes right on the screen. So say you love this view. You're a user. This is your preferred view. This is what you want when you run this report. You can just say on the criteria, report, save defaults, or clear or delete. So, right, so each person per report, so technically each user per report, you can save your own defaults. So on the criteria of the reports in our system, on any report, history, GL report, over, under, check register, you can say save defaults, okay, to make sure that those are saved for you as a user. Another really key basic thing is adding and modifying. I know I've done it today and I just didn't say it because it's just kind of natural. Say we want to pull up a job record or an employee, any maintenance record, jobs, employees, customers, vendors, a GL account. When the screen opens, you'll note we see add and we see modify, okay? So am I adding a new job? If I am, I'm staying in add mode. If I'm pulling one up, I'm modifying it, right? If there's one that's already there, it's like I modify and pull it back up. So if I'm in modify mode and start to type something fresh, right? It's saying, hey, basically stop. Before you get too far and fill in all this data, you're in modify. Like, what are you doing? So it's like, do you want to switch to add mode? Yes. Like, you're right. Yeah. So it's just helping. Now you can lock, if you're a user that's like, well, 90% of the time when I pop in here, I'm modifying, I can lock that down. Just as the default, not permanent forever, just, you know, you get the idea. But adding and modifying, and remember list, that's super important. Do I want a list of jobs? Do I want a list of my GL accounts? I can hit list. That list button is also completely necessary on transactions. So if we put an AP invoice in or a GL journal entry, we would need the list and post. So let's actually do that. Let's go into AP. We're going to go to enter invoices, and I'm just going to put in a quick invoice. How quick, I don't know, but we'll put in an invoice. Now, you know, things I always mention when I'm walking people through a demonstration, if there's a job on that for that invoice, great, pick the job. If there's no job, that's totally normal. Now, you'll notice, or maybe not, like I wasn't using my mouse there yet. You know, I hit F4 to hit the drop-down menu, right? I'm tabbing through the fields. We have a shortcut key list for companies for users that want to have the shortcuts. So I have keystrokes to even bounce between add and modify. So there's, you know, where I don't have to necessarily touch the mouse as much as I maybe would without the shortcuts. But let's throw an invoice in, right? So just plop in a $10,000 invoice for the supplier. Now on that vendor, there's defaults. I set that vendor up with terms of 30 days. I said the default GL account for that vendor is materials because that's a supplier. And same thing for the cost type or cost class, material. So I don't have to fill that in every time, right? So when we set people up, you know, and especially if it, you know, sometimes there'll be a user that starts using Foundation, you know, 10 years after the implementation was done. So they may not know that type of thing. So, you know, the idea is additional training and education does help over time, right? We have user conferences, usually every 18 months. We have Foundation college courses, but it's good to get some formal education and not, you know, bang your head against the wall. So I'm going to save this AP invoice. I could save an AR invoice, a GL journal entry, no matter what. If I do a transaction or multiple, I could put in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 more invoices. But when I'm ready to commit them to the system, I need to list and post. I can run the list and just see how they look and make sure it's good. That's fine. I could do this, close it, and come back later and finish. But the idea is I would post when I'm ready. All right, here's what's going to hit the GL, you know, what's going to go to job costing and all that. If I think that everything looks good to go, I just simply post it. Let's just post the one we just did. Not all of these, why, I don't know, but let's just do one. So I'm going to post this one invoice, not all of them. And the reason is technically because I just want to do a correction, just so you guys can see one way to do adjustments or corrections in the system. So we posted this invoice. It gives us an audit log number, which whatever, I don't really ever pay attention to it because I can always pull that up later in like a post log. So now it's officially done. Now, before I do an adjustment, let me talk real quick on the flow of the system. So if I do an entry into AP and post, well, that's now an AP history, right? But it also flows to GL. Then it flows to job costing, right? So it's going down the funnel. It's never going backwards in that process. If I do a GL journal entry to AP or AR, it is never going back to that module. It's all funneling down from the entry point to these modules if there's a job, right? So I can do a journal entry and hit job costing because that's going down the funnel, right? So it'll go to GL, and if it's job related, then go to job costing. But I can't do an entry, you know, to in a general ledger journal entry to the AR account and actually have it affect anything in the AR module. It just won't happen. So it all goes down the waterfall, never back up. As silly as that sounds. So we got that AP invoice in. Let's go ahead and do an adjustment. Now there's a couple ways to do this. If I go back into enter invoices, and I'll be in the add mode, right? Just by default, some typically would be adding new invoices. But if I modify, it pops up this window saying, what do you want to do? Well, it doesn't say that, but modify unposted, right? Maybe I ran a list and it was like, I meant to change the date on that one. I could pull one up that's not posted, make any changes, great. It was never posted in the first place, easy. Do I just want to view invoices that we've posted? I don't know, you probably just run reports for that, but maybe. You can enter an adjustment. Now notice when I do that, it's saying, do you want to enter an adjustment and just do a full reversal? That's clean, that's easy. I could just do a full reversal and re-enter it, but maybe I don't. Maybe I just want to do an adjustment to it, right? I don't remember the one we did, so I'm just gonna grab the most recent one just to make my life easy. So it's asking, okay, which one are we adjusting? So if I hit the adjustment button, now that I put the invoice back up, there's various fields I can change. I can change the transaction date. I can change the amount. Maybe that should be $8,000. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's $8,000. Or maybe the distribution should have been different. You know, I could do a negative row, a positive row. I can edit it, do something. So this is an adjustment to an invoice. Okay. Now, an easy way, I think, for some companies is just make it straightforward. They could go to this quick reversal. So I'm back under AP, going to daily for the day-to-day, but I'm not going to go back to the invoice entry and to create an adjustment like we did a second ago. I'm going to use this option, quick reversal. So it kind of takes some of the thought out of it for a user in a positive way. Maybe I just want to do a full reversal, or maybe I want to do a reversal and create a copy of the original. So back out the original and present me with a duplicate so I can change whatever I want, which we're going to do that. So let's grab that one. I never finalized that other adjustment. So it's like, here's the invoice that we entered. It kind of gives you a little rundown, the amount, the date. Yep, that's the right one. So notice I have reverse and copy. So if I hit OK, it's doing the reversal for me behind the scenes. And as a lot of you are aware, it creates the audit trail, shows the in, shows the out, who did it, when, all that audit trails there. But to me, the end user right now, it's like, here's a duplicate. It already backed out the original, as it should have, but just basically saying fix what it should have been in the first place and repost it. So we try to do some easier corrections like that just to make people's lives easy, again, easier. Let's do this. I want to mention control dates. I don't think I have. Really important. Well, I did in the control file for AP, right? I tell the system what dates can I post to. Now that's validating it against the TRX or transaction date. So I'm still sitting here on this AP entry screen, but it could be an AR invoice, a GL journal entry. Doesn't matter. I'm referencing the dates on the transaction. So if I wanted to put this invoice in, let's say the invoice date for whatever reason was September 27th. That's fine. That's the date that was on that invoice. Great. But I'm hitting it to the 20th of October. This is the day that's hitting general ledger and job costing. This is just the date of the invoice. So throughout our system where you see transaction date, that's the post date to GL and job costing when it is a job related transaction. So again, if I said that, maybe I did put this back to September, if my date range was only applicable to October, it would not let me save this with that date range. It would say that's outside of your control date, contact your system administrator. And then that administrator, whoever that is, can determine, do I want to reopen those dates or should we just, no, it should have blocked you and it did. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. This post, add, modify, save defaults. So let's talk about some reporting where, some key reports, which coincidentally, I have over here as my side menu. So, you know, under general ledger reports, which I have some of these over here already. I mean, you've got your classics. You've got your balance sheet, you've got income statement, trial balance. They are what they are. I mean, these are preloaded ones. Now, my chart of accounts that I'm using is mine, you know, some random one that was slapped together. But, you know, so great. That's a preloaded financial for an income statement. Sounds good. There is some subtle customization you can do to these preloaded ones. You know, I can say, yeah, let's run this by job, or do I want to show account numbers? Do I want to show prior years or prior year? Maybe, yeah, why not, right? So do I want to show accounts with zero? So there's some soft customization to these preloaded reports. Do I want to see budget versus actual? Divisions. So some of these little topics I'm bringing up, I maybe didn't even intend to or intend to now, but you would absolutely do budgets in general ledger, just like our clients do budgets to their jobs for their job variances and job cost reporting. So if I do that, I would see my budget versus actual. If I have one, which I don't know that I do. I don't, but you get the idea. I have the column for it. So in general ledger, which we were going to do, I was going to walk you through a journal entry at some point. Why not now? Under daily, again, we're doing a day-to-day function. We have journal entries. One of the journal codes is called, I think, budget. Or no, you make one called budget. So if we have a journal code called budget, there might be one out of the gate. I can't remember. This is my play company. I could have got rid of it. Doesn't matter. So we'll create one. Bud. That's our budget journal. So the whole, oh, it does exist. Maybe it's hidden or something. So I'm going down a weird path. So, or maybe I just didn't see it. Was that over there? Okay. Oh, so that's our budget journal. So when we do budgets, we have to go into the GL daily, enter account budgets. There we go. So it's the same, it's just a journal entry, same as any other journal entry screen. It's going to a table in history that's just a budget history table, right? It's not the real GL history, it's a budget table. So yeah, I can say, hey, there's 12 months for this entry, and we're gonna do the first one, 01/01/23, and description is, let's say, income or something. So I could do one account for the whole year. I could do 1 month at a time, whatever's the preference, right? I'm just gonna pick a generic income account here. And right, we'll say, oh, 10 grand. So, you know, it can actually roll through, requires a job. And you wouldn't really have a job for that, but it just populates it, right? So we're just doing our journal entry, and you can import these. When I used to work in support, I would just do an Excel spreadsheet, get my formulas together when I ran our department, and just import the budget for the year. So I can do one account at a time for the whole year, obviously with different values most likely, or 1 month at a time for each account, right? Meaning, you know, this account could be different for each month at a time. But you can definitely do budgets. So we can do budget versus actual on financials, right? So the classic reporting, I mean, you've got income statement, balance sheet, over under billing. Now the over under billing report found in our general ledger has one unique feature versus running this over under billing or WIP report in other areas. Because if I run this in our dashboard, I can't post it. This one I can. So notice this post button is available because it's allowing us to post maybe monthly our over under billing. So we can define what the accounts are that should be hit with this over under adjustment, but the system can automatically do that, so we don't have to manually do a journal entry for that variance that we're trying to post for. So that's something I want to point out on the over under, or bonding report within the GL. History detail, super common report for audit reporting. This is the very nitty gritty GL report, where I can run this for any date range, for any account or accounts, whatever parameters I want, right? Maybe I'm going to run this for, let's find an account, AP, I don't know, accounts payable. And maybe I want to run this forever. It's like here's everything that we've done. And I could narrow this down by date, right? I could have a lot of different options in here, by customer, by vendor, show me all the AP posts for this one vendor. So again, the criteria is important, and there's drill downs. Anything that's blue, you can click it, pops open. But that GL, the history report is extremely vital to see all the real nitty-gritty detail there. Another one that's similar is this post log. Looks a little different, and there's one really cool feature on this. So again, I had saved random date ranges, but let's expand that. Let's say, what did I post for this huge, crazy date range that I actually did physically today? That's what this post date means, which is important. Let's say you're just finishing up the year, but I never officially locked the prior year yet. Well, I can go, well, what did I actually do this year or this month or today that was posted to last year? So I can say today, or maybe this month, like, what did I do today that was posted no matter what date range, right? So this saying, here's what you physically did today, which was posted today. But right here is listening to the actual physical day the person did it. And that way you can see what dates they hit from the activities that they did today, for example. It's a really cool feature. And again, that under GL was the post log. So the history detail and post log are two key reports that we have in GL for audit purposes and review. And every other module's got a detailed audit report too, right? AR, AP, applied history. That's like an audit level report. So, you know, if you click into a few reports, you start to understand, this one's super detailed, this one's summary. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. We talked about the CPA audit review module. That's important. That lists a lot of common reports that you may want to utilize. One topic I want to bring up is overhead allocation. Now, you know, most construction accounting softwares like Foundation, right? When payroll posts, it is hitting job costing, not just with the gross wages, but the burden, right? So, you know, it's hitting there. If I just hop into a job cost report super quick, which is opening up on another screen, you know, I'm just going to run through a dashboard for 2 seconds on one of these jobs. So I'm going to click into a simple project. I'm going to drill down into the cost for this job. So, you know, the idea is, all right, as payroll's processed, and I have all these different cost codes, right, from an activity standpoint, but it's saying, all right, for this $19,000 of cost from this task of subsurface investigation, whatever that is, there's my labor. That's the labor, that's a portion of this total 19 grand. There's our burden. So that's the actual burden from payroll, the FICA, the FUTA, the SUTA, the workers' comp, the fringes, general liability. So by default, we're already hitting the job with the burden, not just the gross wages. And in this case, I'm doing the labor and burden by cost code. Okay. Now, but a lot of companies say, well, in addition to that, I want to allocate my administrative, my office expenses, right? I want to allocate that overhead. So some companies, based on history, they may go into controls, and there's a burden control file. Okay, now most of these things are already set up in advance, like GL, you know, general liability, that's going to hit burden. Workers' comp, that's going to burden. So those are already predefined, those payroll burden. Notice there's extra on top of the burden already going to jobs from payroll processing. Do I want to tack on an additional overhead? Right, so some companies go, well, yeah, I figure it's, you know, 30%. I've come up with that over the years. Or some people go, well, it's about, you know, $1.50 an hour extra, hourly, yes. So that based on history, they've come up with a percentage of wages to kick into the job as an overhead or a rate per hour. Not as common with the hourly variable. And you can actually just have the title of it up top. You know, even if I went back to the 30% or whatever. Well, you could have it look in separate areas first. I might say, well, it's not all 30% for everybody. Maybe it depends on the department that they're in. And you know, for payroll departments, shop, office, field. And maybe field has a 40% overhead and shop has a, you know, 38% and office has a 25%. I don't know. So I can have different override or additional allocation rates by various areas of the system, even by person. Maybe one person's got a really high overhead that we want to put in a different rate on the employee record. It would listen to that first. So again, you can do, as payroll processes, it can hit the job with not only the burden from payroll, but an additional overhead. Another way you can do this is there's an overhead allocation report. And what this is doing, and mine's probably not set up beautiful for my plate company, but it's taking the total overhead value in the general ledger. It's going to look at all the admin overhead GL accounts and take the total number for, say, that month, and it's going to proportionally push those costs to each job that had activity. So, if one job had, 20% of the total cost, it's going to get 20% of that overhead. Okay, so where do we set that up? It's just a nice way for companies to say, well, I don't really need to think about that rate. The system's going to do it for me. I would go to the general ledger under my accounts, right, my standard GL accounts, and I'm going to run this list. And it'll tell you the ones that have that are set to have overhead allocation or not. Right here, so it's saying, allocated overhead expense. I've got, indirects, and I've got my actual. So if I set up each account individually, let's go in and set up one for, let's say, direct expense. So I've got, field labor. Yeah, we're saying that's an expense account. That's a direct job expense. So we're going to include 100% of that with our overhead allocation as far as total direct cost. Now my more like office related expenses, right? So if we go into like, let's see, office expense, real generic, right? But that we would say, hey, that's an overhead expense, and we're going to allocate 100% of it. So it's going to pool together all of the accounts that we labeled as overhead and take those total overhead costs per month and proportionally hit each job that had activity based on their percentage of total cost. Okay. So just want to kind of note on that from a overhead reporting. So, I mentioned in GL reports, you've got history detail, post log, overhead allocation, the over under billing or WIP reports. And again, for another reminder, you can pull over your favorites to that section of the system. Now, GL journal entries, let's just real quick, two things, because there's really just a couple things in general ledger that our clients do quote daily. So if I go to GL daily, it's mainly these two things, journal entries and reconciliation. We talked about that budget journal, to put in an account, budgets for the year or whatnot. This just be a standard journal entry. So technically, probably a lot of clients could literally just have one journal code. I mean, it doesn't have to be all these different titles, but you can create reoccurring with dollars and amounts, or just reoccurring with just accounts. You can have auto reversing journal entries, like accrual ones, where I'm going to post it today, but it's going to reverse on November 20th or something automatically. Yeah, we put in a description, I don't know, sweep account. So date, what day do I want to hit the, GL? Maybe I wanted this to hit actually yesterday. But pretty basic. I mean, you're just filling it in. Now, again, I don't have to use the mouse. I'm just clicking around and grabbing a random account here, but I can just tab, hit the drop down, search, whatever it is, debit or credit. Now, if it's a direct expense account, it's going to make me put a job in. It'll say, hey, that's an actual expense. Like, what? You need to put a job. That's a really important. So while I'm here, right, just a journal entry screen, pretty classic, just GL journals. And after we do this, it's saying we would list and post. Again, just recapping. I did entry. If I was doing more journal entries, I would just do more and then eventually list and post. Just like what we talked about before. There we go. And post it. Yay, now we're updating, right? It's officially done. It gives us that audit trail. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and have the ability to post it. Now, our GL accounts, I was at the GL account a minute ago. So it'd be GL maintenance, back to accounts. I was there showing those overhead allocation fields, right? To label the accounts properly as if it's a direct job expense or an overhead expense. One other really, really, really important fields on a job record or on a GL account is if it's job cost related or not. Now this is accrued FICA, some random liability, right? So notice it's saying do not allow job. When I use this account, I never need to associate it to a job. All my expense accounts, most likely, we're going to require a job if they're set up properly. And that's something we double check when we're setting up companies. We go, hey, we want to make sure that your field labor, that's going to require job costing. If it says material expense, that's going to require job costing. So when I use that account, It's going to force that person to fill in the job that it's for and potentially the cost code. I can't enter something that's to a direct expense without noting the job distribution or job costs associated with it. Force them to do that in order to enter that transaction. Okay. So in GL, again, as outside of doing journal entries, I mean, you got reconciliations. It'll actually show in the drop-down menu here anything that's checking, savings, or credit cards. Now, I don't want to go back to the GL accounts because I was just there twice. I mean, I can't. But if there's a checkbox that says checking, savings, or credit card. If it's checked for, or it's not a checkbox, it's a drop-down that says checking, savings, credit card. If one of those is selected on a GL account, it's going to be here and let us do a reconciliation. So let's pretend we're reconciling for October, or some people might do it every day or week or whatever. But you're gonna see a list of all the outstanding transactions, and we're simply checking off what's cleared. And I could use the arrow and space bar. I could clear ranges of checks, right? I could say, hey, clear this, check 50 through 500 or this deposit range, or maybe if I can't find something, I can search for an item by date, dollar amount, description, check number. I could do journal entries on the fly. I can predefine categories, let's say like bank fees. So it's like, oh, I'm going to do a quick $50 bank fee that we have and not have to leave where I'm at or lose my spot in the reconciliation. It would actually do that journal entry for me directly from here. Reconciliation feature. I mentioned that you can reconcile credit cards there, right? Well, how do we know to, how do we put those in? How do credit card transactions go? AP is a classic area where we can do that. Enter invoices, and I would choose the transaction type as credit card. So I'm just putting in a straight AP invoice, but it's not a classic invoice being entered. It's one that's a prepaid credit card. So we're saying, hey, we paid for this by credit card. Maybe the vendor's Home Depot or whoever, the supply company for that job, but it's prepaid. It's not going to show up on my aging report because I said, no, we already paid this via credit card. I just need to log in. So notice this account field popped up when I selected that. So I would put in Amex, Visa, whatnot. So it would go ahead and debit our material expense account and credit our credit card liability in that regard, right? But it's prepaid. So it's going to be a wash from the AP side of things. Now, credit card transactions, correction. I talked about adjustments and reversals a bit. Even like an AIA, there's obviously corrections can have different complexities, but the standard AP, standard AR, we can just do the adjustment or reversal like we talked about, same on a progress billing or an AIA. If I'm on app one, so let me just throw a percentage of completion made up. Default retainage, which I'm just holding from the job record at 10%. I know a lot of this is hard to take in if you're not in the system much. I'm just cruising through here. Take it with a grain of salt. I've been poking around in this system for over 20 years. But if we hit post, we're committing that to the system. And I didn't say it out loud, but I put the the percentages of completion on that scheduled values, and I hit list to get to the screen, and now I'm posting it to the system. So we posted that AIA, which gives us an audit trail and saying, all right, yep, we updated AR history. There's what went to general ledger. I got my retainage broken out. And there's our revenue that went to the job. Now, if I pull that AIA back up, we're on app 2 now because we did app 1. Just keep on moving, of course, progressively. So there's the app 2 noted. We have our previous filled out, and that's going to keep growing. Now, at any point in time, I can release retainage, whether it's a partial or final. Okay. But again, corrections, I can roll back. So very similar to that, just reversals in standard AP and AR. I can do a rollback here and saying, are you sure? Yes. It's going to listen to make sure that this reversal date is within my control dates that are open. It's not going to let me reverse this to 2019 if I actually put that in. But yeah, it did it for us. Behind the scenes, there's an in and the out. The audit trail's back there in GL and AR history, but to the end user, which is me right now, it just brought me back to app 1 the way I left it, so I can make any changes from that potential revised AIA. Okay. Now, how do people get help with the system? And I'm looking at the clock quite quick. there's a multiple ways to get help from us. One easy way is support. And a couple ways to do that. We have an 800 number, which I'm happy to share. An easier way to do it potentially is just hit log a call. So the idea is it would need your client ID and password for any of you that may already have that, or your client can share it with you. But that logs a direct support call, so we call and help. They need you listed as an approved caller. You know what I mean? Just because we don't want to give support to somebody that they don't want us to, our clients meaning. But yeah, so you have as much support as they would. I hate to say it, but maybe even a little better. We know it's a CPA or professional, and we sometimes we think, well, wait, they're maybe paying you to do the help, obviously, so we want to make sure we're being attentive to it. So you can either call a standard 800 number for support, or just hit log a call. Goes right in the system. It'll ask you like what module you're in, any notes, and then we call you back. They can check for updates anytime, from this menu. But for help, you can log a call for support for direct, chat. There's a user guide built in the system. It's big, it's hardy, it's thousands of pages. So take that for what it's worth. But it is interactive. Blow it up a bit. What I mean by that is, like, if I scroll down a hair and hey, I want to read about the document imaging and routing, I click it, it jumps me to that section where I can start going through and even short here, right? What's the routing window look like? Jumps you there. So it's interactive, but this is 2,700 pages of documentation, so super detailed, very valuable to a lot of companies. Now you can also do help and search. I don't know what I'm going to search for yet, honestly. Well, here's an example. And somebody asked about weighted average overtime or blended rates. Whether you use that or know what it is irrelevant. So it's like, oh, how do I set up weighted average overtime, right? So it literally walks through those processes, right? How is it calculated? Oh, here. So I can put in various topics here and have that create me to that shortcut, right, to the related items. So again, help, you've got user guide, you've got search, which I just was on. Now, current item, let's say I'm on a job record, really anywhere, jobs, invoices, vendors, customers. If I'm like, what is that field for? I don't know what field I'm referencing, maybe, project class or something. I can go to help and then current item, and it's going to pop open a window explaining that screen. And you can get kind of in a wormhole here in a good way, because it's like, oh yeah, what's that certified payroll checkbox? Which you probably assume I need to check it if I need it. But it's saying, okay, if you're required to produce certified payroll reports, but notice there's a hyperlink. Oh, okay, certified payroll. How do I set up certified payroll? Doing this. So you can get into the weeds with it. So help, current item, you've got user guides, you've got release notes, which are on our screen. So it'll give you the most recent release notes. We have a library of all the past ones, right? So you've got phone support. Now we do webinars all the time, educational webinars. There's a client section on the foundationsoft.com website. I don't know why I didn't just click directly there, but so if we go to foundationsoft.com, and I probably should have went here and looked earlier, but there's clients, right? So I was like, where do I go? Client Resource Center, right? So Client Portal, Foundation Connect, e-access, Project HQ. But there's a lot of educational options here, right? Webinars, educational events, resource library. So you need a client ID and password to get far in there, but there's videos, how-to guides, so quarterly reporting, all these features that are reporting and video guides to help educate. Year-end has a seminar on that. So yeah, as much as people want. Now, some of you may be aware of this. A great person here in our department, Chris Masteller. She's she works real close with CPAs in the market, and is a great liaison for the professional CPAs in our market and foundation, right, with us. And she's got a great rapport with a lot of companies. We're equal opportunists for CPAs. As much as they want to have education with us is great. So she puts on a CPA User Conference along with a couple of people here that help, and it's at our facility usually every year. where you can earn CPE credits. It's free to attend. It's usually a 2-day course where you learn about, job cost accounting concepts and things, and you earn your CPE credits with a dinner. So, reach out if you have the interest in learning that. We have a CPE webinars that we offer, and we send out emails. So if you get, at least get on a mailing list with us, that's something that would be very beneficial. There's actually a CPA search on our website as well, right? Where companies, whether they're clients of ours or not, can search for construction-specific CPAs. So if you want to be part of that list, awesome. We can help with that too. All right, so I'm going to wrap up because it's an hour and I actually have to go. But I appreciate it very much. We do these periodically, so this could have been recap, for people that have already been on here. Probably a few unique things pop up every time, just kind of unnaturally, but or naturally. But yeah, please reach out as you need to. This is Garrett. Where am I going to type my name? How about we'll just put my email on the screen here in a random field. But yeah, so it's Garrett Fuller, and it's just gfuller@foundationsoft.com. So this is me. All right, if you need to get a hold of me, not 108, but I'm G Fuller. It's Garrett Fuller at foundationsoft.com. Okay. And yeah, so happy to help in any way that I can. If this was helpful, we'll send out a recorded version of this to anybody who registered and/or attended. And if there's questions I didn't get to that popped up in the panel, I will reach out directly. Thanks again.